it has kind of a double meaning. I mean, Priya means, of course, beloved, love, and that's the name of the character. And our hashtag is Stand with Priya. It's all about creating that identification and empathy with rape survivors. Priya, of course, being a survivor of rape. So we want people to stand with Priya. And in fact, in augmented reality, you yourself could take a photo and put yourself with Priya and share it with friends and say, I stand with Priya. You know, I stand with love, but I also stand with rape survivors. Now, Shakti, of course, means empowerment. And if you read the comic book, it's all about, you know, the beauty of Hinduism is about conquering your fears. And Shakti is an integral part of that. Priya Shakti is an augmented reality comic book that deals with sexual violence in India using Hindu mythological tales. It's an innovative comic book because not only of its storyline, but the use of technology as an interface. It's a low-tech kind of and high-tech version. You can appreciate the comic book, but with the Blippar app, you can scan the comic book or the street art that we're creating, and literally animation, interactive videos, things just pop out of the pages. Now, the reason why I got involved in this and was the creator of the comic book is I was in Delhi in 2012 in December during that horrible rape that happened on the bus. And I was involved in the protests that were occurring. And as a filmmaker, I was documenting it. And I spoke to a Delhi police officer during one of the protests and asked him what did he think about what was happening during the protest and what happened on the bus. And he said something which was very shocking to me. He said, "No good girl walks home alone at night," which implies that either she deserved it or that she provoked the rape. Now, at that moment, I realized that the problem of sexual violence in India is not an illegal problem. Rather, it's a social problem. It's a social stigma. And I wanted to create a story, whether as a documentary at that time, or eventually what it became, a comic book, an augmented reality comic book, that deals with social stigma, that challenges those patriarchal views. And that sort of began my journey into this. I actually looked at, when, you know, after that incident in Delhi, I did look at making a documentary about this, but I realized that it just was not the right medium. I just felt like I couldn't tell an honest or genuine story, because that's what it's all about to me as a filmmaker, is telling a story. I felt I couldn't do it in the documentary format. And it just came out that it came out as a comic book. Yeah, I mean, Hindu mythology, mythological characters, of course. India, it's a very big subject matter, very important subject matter, very important to the culture. And you know, reading a lot of Hindu mythology, a very common situation is you know, a regular village girl or some regular person would often call on the gods for help, and the gods would come down and help in some way, in some fashion. And I said to myself, you know, what other topic in the modern India, modern world, is so prevalent than sexual violence? This is something the gods should get involved in some way. And they do in the comic book. But in the end, it's up to Priya, the human, the survivor of rape, that really motivates and challenges people. She is the hero. She's the one who really makes the difference. Well, I think the important thing to understand is my comic book is part of a bigger conversation that needs to happen. The comic book alone won't eliminate rape. You know, it's in fact, the purpose of the comic book is to address the social stigmas and the culture behind those patriarchal views. So let me tell you this: when I started researching and talking to NGOs and philosophers and poets, and also survivors of rape, women who were gang raped, and getting their stories in developing the comic book, one thing they kept telling me was they could not get justice in this country, not because of legal issues, but because they were deterred by their family, their community, their friends, and even the police officers, in most cases, didn't believe them. And I interviewed a rape survivor who was raped when she was 16, and she was much older when I interviewed her, but she told me that she told me all of this, and behind her sat a police officer with an AK-47, with a semi-automatic machine gun. So whenever she went back to her community, she walked around with a cop carrying a semi-automatic machine gun to protect her. Now, how in the right mind can a 16-year-old girl ever have a normal life knowing that her life will always be in danger for the rest of her life? What incentive is it for her to seek justice, right? Now, that's the reason why she's in this predicament, is because the social stigma, the patriarchal views are working against her, you know? And this creates this kind of vicious circle. Men feel empowered to commit more rape. Certain men commit more rape because they know they can get away with it. They know these women, these girls will not report it, you know? It creates a kind of impunity for them to do so. And this is what this comic book is trying to address. By having a character, the main character, as a rape survivor, we want to create that empathy. We want to create that identification with everyone, with rape survivors, and to challenge those patriarchal views. The comic book is free. You can go on priyashakti.com, download it, all digital formats. The printed version is also going to be free. The goal is not to make money. We've privately raised everything. You know, we don't have any government funding for this. It's a private endeavor. We've gone, the Tribeca Film Institute, Ford Foundation, Miss Foundation, a lot of people involved. We're working with NGOs here in India, Up being the most prominent one, to really use the comic book as a tool to educate and to do outreach. Now, objective of this project is to not make money, but of course, we know privately we can pay for everything we have. And all the money that we raise in India is going to go to the NGOs to help them use this initiative to do the outreach. So whatever money is raised in India is going to stay in India to help use this as a tool to educate people about patriarchal views and the social stigma that surround rape. The hard copy is more complicated because it requires a certain level of investment and, of course, much more involved. But we do plan to translate into many languages. Of course, all the regional languages here in India. Hindi, of course, is coming out soon. Marathi, Telugu, Tamil, you name it. And then we're also going to be doing international editions. There'll be a French translation, a Italian translation, and we're going to be partnering with major news magazines internationally, and they'll be releasing those versions in due time. Yeah, it's going to be a major international endeavor because sexual violence is not a problem only in India. It's a problem that's worldwide. So we want our character Priya and the story to sort of resonate internationally as well. Well, Priya, we do plan to do other editions, issues of it. Priya, of course, being the central character of that. Priya, in other editions, would address other topics related to gender violence. It might not just be rape, but it's all going to be based on gender violence. Well, Circle 6 is a separate app that people can download, and if they feel they're in a scary situation alone at night, they have 6 friends they can contact immediately. And what we did is we embedded that app into the comic book, into the augmented reality, so people can download that app and have it in their phones, whenever they're traveling at night. We don't plan to have an app for the comic book. It's available in every digital format, iBooks, Kindle, and so on. It's not a monetizing kind of endeavor at all. That's just the principle we decided to stick with.
The entire concept of associating with Priya Shakti was started way back in August of 2014, and we thought that we need to make the entire concept of sexual violence and use technology to make it more humane. And the idea was, especially in India, where you have a lot of young population and one of the highest smartphone penetration in the world, we thought of using technology to make this entire cause more viral. And that's how the entire association came about. So when you talk about augmented reality as a technology, it's not about we don't focus on AR as a concept, but we talk about how do you create visual marketing and visual search through the technology like Blippar. And what we have done so far is trying to create a new engagement form for consumers and brands, and try to bridge the physical and the digital world. And that's what that's how Blippar has been completely different from how the entire augmented reality and defining a new behavior, new consumer behavior through augmented reality platform.